All right, so ladies and gentlemen, after 5 hours of troubleshooting, and after 3 hours before that of me not getting the Facebook post advertisement correct for Yvette, that she was probably wanted to kick my ass already, we're going to welcome you to the Primo Real Estate channel. Jerry,
Unleashed.
Primo and
Unleashed.
Prima today.
That's it.
Prima.
Absolutely. So listen, as always, I'm Carlos Salazar, broker owner Zold Realty Group. More importantly, my consistent counterpart is
Jerry Pujals, Homestead Real Estate in the beautiful Napa Valley, along with our beautiful cousin, who is
Oh, thanks. Ivette Rodriguez.
she's so shy. She's not really like that shy on camera. She's being, listen, this is unleashed. That means be yourself, do what you normally do. Like
Oh,
right now, you would have sent us to go, where, after all this frustration. So just be you.
the computer guy said that you guys were ragging on me. I didn't hear you, but he was saying that you guys were ragging on me.
Talking about
But I'm
rag.
glad this happened.
Good.
I'm glad this happened because I have a hearing next week, and I would have not wanted this to happen, at a hearing. So I got to get this taken care of.
Well, while you were busy doing that, Jerry's a side note. Look how things piggyback off each other. Her computer guy just snitched on us. So he was in some kind of witness protection. He snitched on someone to get out of trouble, right? We were just talking about that a second ago before you said that. We were talking about people cooperating with the government, not getting, time, right? Isn't that crazy?
what a what
Stitches
what's
up.
going on with the pro code, man? Nothing there.
Listen, it's another
Under the bus. Threw us under
it's
the
another
bus.
time. Listen, Yvette doesn't do justice to her introduction, so I'm going to do it for her, right? So everyone that does not know who Yvette is, first and foremost, more importantly, she's our beautiful cousin, Ivette Rodriguez, also based out of Miami, Florida. She's been a real estate attorney for many decades. Well, almost close to 3 decades, right? 20-something
Yeah,
years.
take
right,
it
cuz?
easy.
26 years. Yeah,
26 years. We've proudly used her exclusively for all our real estate transactions ever since this day I first got licensed. That's the only person we trust for our transactions. She's helped a multitude of our clients.
Carlos.
No, 100%. She's helped a multitude of our clients, and she just always goes above and beyond, available on weekends to troubleshoot and treats every client like we do, as if they were VIP gold. So that's difficult because we're in a pool of 5 million attorneys in Miami, and she's definitely a gem. Yvette's also a special magistrate for the Value Board for Miami-Dade County. And so we hope jump into some personal stuff and look under the hood a little bit. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of professional stuff on top of it. And that's going to be the magic formula for today's episode. So Jerry, Yvette, what makes you get out of bed in the morning?
I got to pay these bills. Gotta pay the bills.
What motivates you? You've been, and it's funny because you and Jerry have shared a very similar transformational journey over the last year. I would say pretty much around the same timeline, and it's funny because to me, I was telling you that offline. Was it yesterday or the day before? That I'm always enthralled by individuals that complete very difficult things, very challenging feats, especially when that feat is overcoming yourself. You know what I mean? Like the limitations that you put in front of yourself, and you both have done that in spades. And I think it's super impressive. So I guess more poignantly, in the morning when you wake up and do those difficult things that you do every day, the working out, the changing the lifestyle, what motivates you to do that? Is it you want to live a long life, a quality of life? What's the motivation behind it other than just you want to challenge yourself to change your life? Either one of you can go first.
Go Yvette.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay, so what motivates me? I mean, especially now with the weight loss, I've lost 102 pounds, and for a very long time, everything was lined up. My credit score number was the one that I wanted to be. What I have in the bank account is what I wanted it to be. Like all these great things, but there was this one thing, this one number that I just didn't have control. It was this one number. And so when people now ask me, what do I have to do to lose weight? How do I have to, my answer to them is whatever the fuck it takes, and for everybody, that's a different thing. Like from some people, it's this, from some people ask me, what workout works, the workout that you're going to do, like, whatever it is, it's such an individual thing. For me, I don't think I knew how big I had gotten. Not even in pictures, not even anything like that. What happened is, and this is like a kind of a funny story. My brother told me that he had confused me for one of my aunts. And so I thought he was just being a jerk, you know? And he was like, you know, I walked up to her to say hello to you, but it was that person. And I started to think, wow, that's what I look like, you know? And no offense to my aunt or anything like that, but I just didn't realize how big I had gotten. What had to happen with me is that everything had to switch. I talked to Carlos a little bit and I said, Carlos, my life revolved around food. You know, like if I had a great day, I was gonna have sushi. If I had a bad day, I was gonna do like it was like a reward system. It was things to look forward to with my friends. It was something great. You know, if I was gonna have people over, the first thing that I was thinking about, what am I gonna serve people? What food am I gonna get? It revolves, you know, like everything is revolving around food. My life now doesn't revolve around food. It's what do I need to nourish my body and let me keep going. My life revolves now around movement. Like I constantly have to be in movement. I used to sit here and print documents one after the other to let them pile up so that I could do one trip to the printer, you know, so that it's just one print. No, now everything is pop up, quick, go pick up the parking space. Everybody's fighting for those parking spaces at the beginning. I park at the very end of the parking lot. And like I told Carlos, that took me giving up my high heels. Like I don't care about the high heels anymore. I have my sports shoes and, you know, I try to go walking every single place that I can. If you want to do something with me, you're more than welcome to come walk with me. You know, we don't have to sit at a bar. We can go for a walk. We could go for a workout. I'm looking up like healing meditation, a pottery class, things that don't revolve around food. What motivates me? Another aspect of it, vanity. Vanity and weight loss are hand in. I want to look better. You know, I like getting in that size 0 pair of pants. Man, that feels so freaking good. It felt so freaking good to travel to Europe and to be able to wear, I mean, I had sunglasses, purses, and shoes. Now I got to buy some clothes, you know, and that felt really, really nice, you know. And I try to help people if they approach me and say, what works for you? What do you eat? But the first thing that I had to think is food is not a big deal. You know, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And it used to be a big deal.
You know, it's funny. That reminds me of, I'm sure you've heard this before. I think it was Tony Robbins. And he says, nothing tastes as good as looking good feels. Do you believe, right? Nothing tastes as good as looking good feels. And it's true. Jerry, I know you were nodding there. And if we would be in a Baptist church, you would have been, go, because a lot of things resonated. It resonated, right? That those same things. Can you give us a little context, some insight into your journey in those, any similar motivations?
Yeah, there's so many similarities. I actually, one of the things I was looking for, I knew that that Yvette had transformed. I didn't know to what degree till my daughter-in-law showed me her picture just last night. And I just went, holy shit.
But I never, listen, I'll be honest with you, and I see her, you know, outside of the business times that we see each other, we're on social media all the time. I would never, I'll be honest with you, I guess it's like yourself. I never saw the drastic change until she put the before and after. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's what she showed me, and that blew my mind. Because to me, she always looked good, even, you know, at the weight, I was like, oh, she wore it well, man. She looked pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it really took me a while to process that. And then, you know, I don't keep up with things as I used to, because, you know, I have, you know, Irisham does the social media for me, because mentally, from a mental health place, staying away from social media for me is probably one of those things that helps me with my nutrition. You know, when I get into that hamster wheel of what does everybody what's everybody doing and how good is everybody's life when I might be walking through fire over here. You kind of feel alone. So I made a decision to just have staff handle social media for me in a way that I can still keep my face out for the real estate portion and some of my family members to know that I'm still alive. But I've kind of pulled back away from that. I think it's been a good decision, just so you know, if you've ever considered, if you're big into social media, anybody out there is big into it and you feel like it's taking over your life, it could. So I would say that's one thing that's helped me to pull back. But man, everything Yvette said just made sense. One thing that it's taken me a while to figure out is the part that it's different for everybody, that it's really different because, you know, I remember, Carlos, you remember when I, you know, in like 3 months, I lost 40 pounds and all of a sudden I wanted to tell everybody how they need to lose their 40 pounds. You know, and you start getting on this high horse and you think you're helping and you're probably doing more damage than good.
Right.
So the one thing that's really changed for me in just the last couple of months has been that whole meet people where they're at. And now, and when I saw Yvette's picture last night, I'm like, fuck, that picture is awesome. I really want Yvette on my Body Mind Index podcast because this is kind of the story of the people that are coming on that show now. I've had 2 people that have had a different journey. 2 people have done, one did a sleeve and the other one a gastric bypass. And even though that wasn't the topic of that particular episode, it was, what it taught me is that, fuck, they're walking through fire too, man. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. This whole, you know, I talk about climbing Mount Whitney or climbing any kind of a big peak. To me, this is a big fucking peak. And to me, you know, I'm like 14 months into this journey. I believe that as it's gotten easier, because like Yvette, I don't crave any of those things that I used to crave, but I also believe that I am a food addict and that environmentally, I shouldn't be hanging around, you know, a pizza parlor. You know, I shouldn't be living inside a pizza joint because pizza used to be kryptonite for me. So I environmentally, very much like Yvette, put myself in situations that are movement centric and that are, yeah, if you look at my cabinets and my refrigerator, I have to imagine something like Yvette's is probably relatively boring. There's probably not a ton there. And for me, processed foods is one of those things that I haven't touched in over a year. I just won't eat anything out of a box or things like that. And for me, that has worked. But for somebody else, if it's different for you, then good for you. But I think the walking into that discomfort is where it all starts, because making the decision, I think, is the hardest part. And for the last thing I'll say is that I also understand statistics, very simple statistics, and this is one of them. And one of them is that, you know, 95% of us will gain our weight back after a year. And because I know that, I also see time as my best friend. The more time goes, and I haven't even hit a goal weight because I don't even know that I have a goal weight anymore. I know that I've lost 80 something pounds, but here's what I don't know. I don't know how much I weighed when Susan took the photo of me that I showed Carlos not long ago. And I think it was over 300 pounds. I just never wanted to know that because I jump on a scale when I've lost 20 or 30 pounds. That's when I usually jump on a scale on all these yo-yos that, right? You guys connect with that? It's like, I'll jump on a scale when I start to look a little thinner in the face, because when my face is puffy, I know I don't want to jump in it because it's going to be bad. So I have to imagine I was over 300 pounds. I'm slightly over 200 now. And I know for a guy that's only 5'9", that's that, by the way, I used to be, again, I come from a family of giants. I used to be 5'9 3/4. At 57 years old, I've lost 3 fucking quarter inches. And I don't care what you're measuring, 3/4 inches is a lot. So.
Well, it depends where, no mentira. No, when
Wait, that's a little gratuitous. That's a lot, bro.
It's a lot.
I was gonna mention that you mentioned social media and Instagram, and one of the things that I realized was that in my feed, and I don't, you know, I'm sure there's a reason why I get there. I had like everything was like recipes and food, and recipes and food. And so one of the things that I did was I took out, like blocked all those, because I used to love to sit there and be like, oh my God, that looks wonderful. Oh, I'm going to make that. All the recipe and food, I don't care if it's keto, I don't care if it's vegetables, I don't care what it is. It's out. It's out. Like I don't follow any of those pages. I do like follow pages that do exercise, but it's not like with supermodels with those. No, it's regular people showing you regular exercises, and those are the things that I follow now. If it's a motivational thing, I'll follow it. Some of them I don't agree with, but I listen to them anyway. Maybe I don't agree with them today, but maybe a month down the line, I'm ready to receive it, And the same thing happened with me. Like I was wanting to give advice to people. People need to be ready to receive it, and people need to be ready to, and maybe one day they'll come back and say, hey, Yvette, what tips do you have? And that's one of those things. So with social media and Instagram and that, if you're struggling with weight and stuff, take away all those things, because you're gonna see a pizza and you're gonna be thinking about that pizza all day because you saw it on Instagram. It's out. It doesn't serve me. Bye.
But I
Yvette,
think
you said some. Sorry, Carlos. You said something that really perked my ear when you said, your world is not, food centric. You're not making food your thing, and as food has always been the thing. We come from same background, same families. My favorite thing in the world to do was when I would hear, we're going to Yvette's grandmother's house, because I knew what that was going to look like, and I knew I was walking out of there in pain. And it was in the best kind of pain ever, because everything tasted so delicious. But when you come from that, it's challenging. And then I don't know if you went through this, but there's a part of us that struggles with the social aspect of that, right? The social aspect of just that warmth of that grandmother who just slaved in the kitchen all day long to make us happy, because us eating made them happier. How did you deal with that? I'd love to hear your story, because for you, that's everything. It's that family.
Right. So grandma now, she knows, and so she'll make something nice for me. Like she'll make me some fish, or she respects what I'm doing. Like she will say like, okay, I'm gonna make you this, and I'll say I don't want to have the rice today, and she kind of works with me. I still have the nice meal with her, but she's, understands what I'm doing, and she's, like, oh, this is just some, white meat of the chicken, and this, and she knows, like, if I have potato, I don't have rice. She understands that concept. At first, it's like, oh, you're being silly, but now she gets it, and my grandmother is somebody who's always maintained her weight. She's had the same kind of weight because she ate when she was hungry. She stopped when she was satisfied, and things could be in her refrigerator. And meal was just a way of, a meal was, to nourish your body. The problem with me is like, and is that I would nourish the body until it hurt my belly. And then if somebody came out, oh, I brought donuts. Oh, I'm going to have some of that too. And hey, I know what a donut tastes like. There isn't any donut that I could put in my mouth that has this orgasmic taste that I know what it tastes like. I know what French fries taste like.
I disagree on that one point, but okay.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
Well,
let me tell you,
used to
it's
be
funny.
a cop. You used to be a cop, so
Bro,
Ba-dum-bum.
No, there's no pa-dum-pum. It's a real thing, and I still have PTSD from that. I would walk into places, and the people would stare at you, and I'm like, I'm just looking for a donut. Oh, but that they know. And then secretly, when I was in narcotics, my partner would pass by Dunkin' Donuts, and the lady would give us the apple fritters freshly baked. And then, but you'd get it like it was a drug deal. I don't want anyone see me eat a donut, whatever. But it's funny because Yvette said something that you just pointed out to me offline yesterday. That I think we all, when we find something successful that we're doing, we want to share it with others that we care about, right? And then not understanding that we should like aflojar la bicicleta, for all you Anglos out there. That means slow your roll, and meet them where they are. And if they come to you for like, for example, if I come to Yvette right now, Yvette, I need to do exactly what you've been doing. Tell me. Yvette's going to be open and tell me. But I think we're all cut from the same ilk. where I'd be like right now, if I'm doing something that I'm benefiting from, let's say something health wise, Jerry, you have to do this. No, no, you don't understand. We want to really impose that upon the person, right? So I think we've all tried, and it's funny because all of us here and everyone that's probably listening has always tried the different before finding what works for them has tried something, right? The fasting. Yvette and I were together on the keto chat group for a while. Remember, we were doing only keto and we're
Yeah,
motivating each
yeah.
other. Her and her best friend and I, we were on there and we even had a keto dinner at our house, which is amazing, by the way. And so whatever. So we try to do this, we try to do that, and it's funny because I think that the key here with anything in life is to really know yourself. And we've been lying to ourselves about a million things all our lives. I don't mean we only, I mean collectively as humans, right? So for me, my epiphany was I am in love with food. I love food. And it's probably because of the same reasons of our similar upbringings. Hello, I used to eat Yvette's house since I was a little kid. Every family thing is food, food, food. So for me, what works for me is I cannot feel like whatever I'm doing, it's a punishment or deprivation. That's just me, right? But I love food. So I've tried to find a balance where I can eat what I want. And the craziest byproduct of that is when I have the menu in front of me, my rule is if I see something on here on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 15, me lo voy a meter. Uh, for your Anglos, I will consume it. So that's for me psychologically, it's freedom because like for example, we go to Villaggio's on a weekly basis. It's my favorite place right there in Coral Gables, Yvette. I love that
Yeah,
restaurant.
it's,
More importantly,
yeah.
because you have the guy once a week he plays with the cello outside, and I just love it there.
It's my time. Yeah, it's a really pretty place.
Yeah, I love it. So I go there, and historically, I go there. Wait, give me the fettuccine alfredo with this, with that, whatever. So, and I fast every day, which has been a life changer for me. So I know that's going to be my first meal after 18 to 24-hour fast. And I'll go, and I'm like, okay, I know I can eat whatever I want. So I have a little bit of the flatbread in the beginning, and knowing que I can eat tremendo plate of pasta, I'm like, you know what? Let me have the fish and whatever, but I feel good about it. Not, oh my God, I need to eat fish because I'm on a diet. That shit doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. Last year, when I went to the doctor, I probably was last year, the beginning of last year, north of 300, maybe like 315, something like that, whatever. And she goes, hey, listen, you're borderline, all your blood work. My blood work was so off the charts that it looked 3D when she pulled it out. You know what I mean? It was like, it's like, and then you have to do something and no, eliminate carbs, whatever. I'm like, dude, I can't do that. So I have to find something that'll work for me. And I've intermittent fasted for a very long time. And then I go, I'm gonna get serious about the fasting. And for me, it's not a chore. I actually enjoy it, which is the reason it works for me. So long story short, I do my intermittent fasting. I fast every single day, no matter what. Sometimes I have an 8-hour eating window. Sometimes I only eat once a day. And it's whatever I feel like doing. It's if I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat now. If not, that kind of thing. And I went back to get blood work at the end of the last year, and she was like, and she said in Spanish, coño, right? She's Spanish. For you Anglos, that means wow, how impressive. So uh, she says everything is normal, and I'm like, what are you doing? So for me, that works for me, And if I'm gonna eat a
That's
donut,
awesome, Carlos. I'm glad that everything is much better. That's awesome.
yeah, I went through health scares and the whole 9 yards, and I've been working out like crazy, and so the combination of everything, So I think you have to find that place and really know who you are. So if you're a person like me, that if you say the word restriction, I'm only gonna do that, but 10 times worse. You know what I mean? Like, don't touch that. I'm like, oh shit, I'm the first chance I get, I'm touching that. Like a little kid, and whatever the reasons are, I'll get psychoanalyzed by a professional in the future, but whatever reasons are that I'm like that, it's good to know what you're like and what's going to suit you on that path, and you have to find your own level of happiness. Like what Jerry's doing to me, eh, I'm sure I can do anything, but to me, I would feel like I'm living a restricted existence, but you are in bliss. What
Right.
Yvette's doing, Yvette cut out alcohol, cut out everything. I'm not a big drinker, but we do drink wine, and I'd be like, dude, and so I'm kind of like I kind of like had that one-on-one relationship with food. Like you said, we're in love with food, and Yvette told me offline the other day, you have to just get divorced with food, which is her thing. And I'm like, you're right. So I'm thinking of it this way. Okay, I didn't get divorced from food, but now I'm a Mormon, so I have multiple wives, right? So I only eat at this wife's house once a week, and that kind of stupid analogy. But anyways, you have to find what works for you is the bottom line. And Yvette, it's funny you say that because I saw a quote, and this goes in line with one of my things for this year. My theme for the year is what's my theme for the year? my defining limitless year of execution. That's my theme. I picked a theme for this year for the first time instead of, like yearly goals. Hey, I'm gonna this. That's my daily thing that whatever I do, I'm gonna try to execute at a high level. One of those things that I share with Jerry in one of our shows and personally offline is that I'm making a huge change with those people that I invest time in, with those people I spend time with. And it has nothing to do with the socioeconomic hierarchy. If someone has money is not a factor here. Is if I feel if their journey is not improving mine, and I mean that solely from, it sounds bad. I wish I'll find a better way to articulate that. But if you're not a positive light of what you're doing, where I want to head in that same direction, and back to that example that Jerry says, if right now you both are on here and all I'm doing is texting you, I know your journeys. And if I spend my life, hey Yvette, look at this hamburger out. Hey, look at this, look at that, look at that. When you're Carlos, you know what I mean? I'm not conducive to your journey. So this is what I read. Find a group, and this is nothing new, but find a group of people that challenge and inspire each other and spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. Do you believe that who you spend time with, whether it be virtually, follow on social media, talk to, spend time with physically, do you believe that that influences the trajectory of your life and happiness? Yes or no? And expand.
I think definitely. I have two best friends who, there are so many things that I learned from them. There are women who are strong, who are successful, who give me tips on things, both of them, one has been my best friend since the third grade, and the other one has been my best friend since college. They're former judge, attorney, the CPA for the Archdiocese, and both of them, the first thing that both of them have this in common, they don't talk about anybody. They're not interested in talking about anybody. If I pick up the phone and I'll say, do you see what so-and-so was wearing? Listen, how does that affect me? Like, how does this conversation, now, if I call one of them and I tell them, hey, I need to do a budget to fix my house, now we're talking. All right, and my best friend brought me a folder that had little things. There are women who have no interest in anything negative about anybody else. And that's something that I have to work on with myself, like to be like, if it's not something productive, if it's not something, I'm truly, genuinely not interested in that. Those are the women that I surround myself with because I want to learn from them. And they learn from me too. They call me for certain things, but that's the kind of environment that I like to surround myself with. Like there's the type of women that are very superficial, that don't care about those things, that only want to find a man that supports them. That's not my world. That's not the world that I really do feel that the people around you make a very big impact on who you are, how you think, how you speak. I learn from everybody. I remember one time Jerry told me, I can't stand sarcasm. I don't like it. It serves no purpose. Sarcasm is, this was years ago. I was probably like in high school or stuff, and he was a little bit older than me. And I learned from that. It's true. What does sarcasm bring to the table? Nothing, and every time somebody says something that I feel like, well, I could learn from that. And you also have to learn how to, surround yourself with these people, because it's easy to get stuck with somebody that I call them. I used to do this. This is an example. Someone would call me at 9 a.m. Oh my God, I'm losing my house in a foreclosure. I don't know what I'm going to do. Can you help me? Can I bring you the papers? Can you help me save my house? And then I will get on Facebook and they're at Disney World, and I say, they call me in the morning and they flush they do their thing and they flush the toilet on me. Now I'm carrying that foreclosure that isn't mine because I pay my stuff. I take care of my things. If my house is in foreclosure, I don't go to Disney World, and I see it there. So now you're happy because you left the problem on me. I'm not even charging you for this because you're a friend, And I said, no, I'm nobody's toilet. Like if you are going to Disney World, pay your house and go to Disney World. And it's not pay me, because if I'm going to worry about you and I'm going to take on this responsibility, you better compensate me. That's the bottom line. So
Yvette,
yeah, if I have those friends,
Unleashed. That was
I was
unleashed.
unleashed. And I remember when Yvette was telling me, I don't know what year, it must have been 2010, 2012, where I was like, how are things in Miami? Yvette says to me, Carlos, things are great. You go to the stores, everybody's got shopping bags and this and that. I'm like, Jesus, in California, things are really messed up. She says, no, here, nobody's making their house payments. They're shopping, buying new cars. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
I would review their bank statements, because when you were doing these modifications of mortgage, you got to present to the bank. And it was car wash, $75. Listen, if your house is in foreclosure, get a rag and a bucket of water and wash your own car. I mean, you know, come on. But that's the thing of surrounding yourself with people that are going to give you problems. And now, how did this how did this land on my lap? Or, you know, people that are positive and teach you things and, you know, introduce you to new things. So yeah, Carlos, I think you are influenced by those people.
Yep. That's 100%. That's one of my main, and I've always thought this and believed it, but I've always been like, you have people that whether it be family or friends or acquaintances, they always fall into the compromiso stage. For you, those that do not speak Spanish, that means the obligation stage. To communicate with someone, and I don't have a problem with talking or associated with someone, whether it be family, friend, or otherwise, that's going through tough times, right? But I only want to associate with that individual if, like, hey, listen, this happened to me. I fucked up. I did this. I did that. I need to find a path. Can you help me, as an example? Could you have an opportunity for me, as an example? Or you have any ideas? Someone I can talk to. So someone that whatever. We're all human. We all fuck up, right? So not the person that's like, hey, Yvette, boy, the life is fucking against me. Hey, you know what they did to me? You know what they is doing to me? You know what my employer did to me? You know the people at my job did to me? You know what this real estate market's doing to me? You're going to be like, wait, bro, this guy's, I need to find a psychologist just to deal with Carlos. You know what I mean? So those are the people that I've just eliminated, and then there's those people they go above and beyond for. Like you said, Yvette, just like that. That, for example, Yvette, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. So Yvette teaches me, doesn't feed me, but teaches me how to eat. And then I go there, and then a month later, Yvette sees me asking someone else, telling him, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry. You're like, dude, what a waste of time, effort, and compassion for someone that really doesn't, whatever. So to me, I'm just, and I feel free. And the whole thing about talking shit about people, I stop anybody, even in my own family. Not that they talk shit, but like if they have anything, if the negative thoughts coming out, I'm like, listen, you're tainting my positivity, and I don't need to hear. I don't care. Who cares? Don't worry about shit you can control, and don't worry about the other person's personality. If it's too strong, if it's too light, if they're obnoxious, if they're whatever. It's a whole full-time job to keep track of that shit. And I feel free. I feel like so free this year because I just feel free. And I'm proud to say that you both are in. And listen, I'm authentic. I wouldn't be doing this show with Yvette if I didn't give a shit about her, or vice versa. I just wouldn't. And I have a rule since the kids were little. I would not break bread with anyone or go to their house for a get together out of compromiso or feeling obligated, and then later walking out the door. God, I don't believe no, I just won't do it. So when I tell someone I love them, like I tell you that often, I tell you as well, that I care about you, or I reach out to you, or I talk to you, it's because it's authentic and I really care about you, not because I have some, some agenda, some, hey, whatever. So I think that's super important, and it's free to make those difficult choices, life choices, when you have all that baggage off of you. And I'm sure that you both are thinking the same thing, because if you had other baggage or other people weighing you down, there's an old joke. I'll say it in English. Superman's is flying throughout the world, and this is going to be a stupid analogy, but I think it's funny. Superman's flying throughout the world. And he's done like 500 laps around the entire world, and he's so freaking tired. So he comes up to the Florida Peninsula, about to approach it, and he's got to go all the way to Manhattan. Right? He goes, "But I'm tired. Let me just chill out a little bit." So he stops in Cuba, and he stands and he lands on this beautiful mountain in Cuba, overlooking the ocean there. And he's like, "Oh my God!" And he sits down. He takes a little nap. He wakes up. And he's like, man, all right, I feel good. I'm gonna go ahead and get back to Manhattan. So he takes 2 steps, jumps up in the air, and doesn't gain flight. He looks around. Did I land on a rock of kryptonite? What's happening? He takes another 2-3 steps, jumps up, and lands right back on the ground. He's getting really concerned, and he hears like a commotion behind him, and he turns around. He's got 500 Cubans hanging out to escape. Dale, Superman, que tú puedes. So, anyways, that's a lot of dead weight.
Translation.
Translation. Guys, that's another episode. So anyways, yeah, so I think that negativity, negative people that are programmed negatively, not that they're not being successful, but that they're just have that negative programming is contagious. It's the worst pandemic to me. Jerry, tell
That's
us.
so true. You just reminded me. I have plenty of time, which is unfortunate. You scared me a little bit because today I'm trying to find something to do with my oldest step grandson. I'm calling him step grandson, so you know kind of which one he is. Sierra's oldest boy, and he's 13 years old now. And I'm trying to find something in common to do with him. And one of his favorite things to do is the gaming thing. You know, you're just not going to get me gaming. So I'm trying to figure it out. The other day I went to sign ironically enough, I went into an escrow company to sign a reconveyance to something that Susan and I did a while ago. And so we're signing a reconveyance. I come out and there's a comic store right outside. And I was like, I'm not a big comics guy, but I walked in and I asked the young woman that's working on there, I said, you know a lot about this stuff? She said, yeah, I do. I know a lot about this. And I told her kind of my exposures to comics when I was a little boy with my mother's aunt used to work for Pan American Airlines. You guys are probably too young to remember what Pan American Airlines. Okay, so she worked for Pan American Airlines. My grandmother's sister worked for Pan American Airlines for 30 years. And every day from work, she would bring home a comics. But when I was a little boy, I hated to read. I didn't like to read comics. But she had a collection, you guys, that I was, consider like a walk-in closet just filled like a block with comics that would probably be worth gazillions of dollars now. And I know how people feel about those things. But the young woman, as I was walking out, she says, hey, Friday at 6 o'clock in the evening, we have the author and artist of this new book who's going to be doing book signings for this comic book. And it's a big fat comic book. And then my light bulb went off and thought, let me try this on my grandson. Dude, when I told him about that signing, he is like all in. I finally got him. He's like, I fucking found something that kid and I can do together. So I'm excited about that, but that's still for a few hours. So don't think you're going anywhere, Yvette. So anyway, so with
Jerry,
yeah,
back to you, and we're jumping to real estate right now. 1 second. So tell me, you find any truth in that aligning yourself or associating with those like-minded individuals as you're better off versus being the vortex of the opposing side of that?
Yeah, I heard that early on when my kids were little, and I heard somebody say, and actually I worked for this guy as a real estate coach. I used to coach 70 of his clients. And this guy used to say it on stage in front of thousands of people. He used to say, there are people that bring you up, there are people that bring you down, there are people that keep you the same. Which ones do you want to align with? And early on, I decided that I wanted to align with people that uplifted me. I even struggled with the people that keep me flat. And unfortunately, we all have been met with even people in our families that not only keep us flat, they bring us down. And it's a hard decision to make, because then you question, are you being unreasonable? Are you being arrogant? Are you being these things? Are you leaving people behind? Or what, you really it really starts to mess with your head. And I've, come to the conclusion that, the only people that you really can serve really, really, really well are the ones sort of in your own house. Because even the kids, when they leave the house, you have to give them space to fly. And that's one thing that I'm struggling with right now is not becoming codependent because I need my little birds right by me. And you guys, I'm in the middle of that fight right now. So I'll tell you more to follow, but I'm learning. And one thing that I do appreciate about myself is that I take notes and I keep changing and I keep evolving, and it'll go on till the day I die. That's kind of what I find exciting about life, that there's always a what's around the corner type of thing. And I love that.
I love it. You guys are awesome. You make me better. Appreciate it.
Oh, ditto.
I think my my intellectual and emotional IQ just jumped up a few points because of you guys. Thank you.
Well, I wish I could wear headphones because I would look much more legit than I do.
I know Yvette's been thinking, she's like, man, out of my two cousins, Carlos is really the better looking one. I know that's
It's
what
always
she's thinking.
a thing, right?
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we're the only ones that are under 70 on this call. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I'm just kidding. Jerry look at that skin. Look at that beautiful skin, bro. Like, dude.
I got to tell you this. A woman, by the way, I've told you about her before. I ran into this beautiful Cuban woman that lives in Napa. She's about 35 years old. I'd love for Yvette to meet her one day when she hopefully comes back soon. Karine is married to one of Susan's clients, Gabe. And again, I think she's about 35. She has, something that I don't partake in anymore, but she has a scotch or a whiskey label that she just sold to the company that George Clooney has his booze with. I don't know much about that, but Karine just sold that thing for a lot of money. And then she adopted 2 kids. She has 1 daughter. And I just ran into her at the grocery store. And she said, by the way, she's also a pilot. I mean, she's the most ninja chick, and she happens to be Cuban. And she said, Jerry, your complexion, what are you doing? And I was just like, nobody's ever come to me to say, what the hell you do with your skin? And I said, it's easy for me to say the acronym: no sugar, oil, salt, caffeine, alcohol, animal products, nothing. But
Zoom
I have
filter,
to
zoom
get,
filter, zoom filter, zoom filter. No. He doesn't look like
if anything, there's way too much light in this room.
No. You do look like that in person. It's really impressive.
Well, thank you.
But that's funny. Anyways, I'm as you see, I got into a very introspective mood because Yvette, you'll probably be able to align with why I'm feeling like this way today. Clarita left here a few hours ago.
Oh, yes.
So that's why I'm
massage.
so chill. I'm so chill. Yvette introduced
The
us
weekly
to.
massage.
Oh my God! Yvette introduced us to Clarita, the masseuse that I've been telling you about that comes here every week religiously, and it's like, dude. After that, you feel like just lighting some incense and sitting in downward dog or whatever it is, and just staying. No, that hurts.
Namaste.
Yeah, namaste. But yeah, so she's awesome. She's awesome. All right, so let's sprinkle.
Part of health too.
What's that?
I think that's part of health and being good to yourself too is a massage,
Yeah.
You spend the money on something silly, might as well, spend it on yourself and your health.
Yeah, she's amazing, and thank you so much for that recommendation. Because we talk about this often that we don't recommend anyone to anyone because siempre caen mal. I mean, quedan mal. So yeah, but she's like a home run. So all right, that's a great segue. Massage. Let's massage a little the real estate world a little bit. What do you say? So Yvette,
Now you're talking.
let's do it. So since you're our guest of honor today, I guess if you can give the folks out there a little insight, a little context onto what you do for a living, which you are a real estate attorney, specifically within real estate. What do you do, and how do you serve clients within the real estate community? And what do you do? What are the pros and cons of using someone like you versus like a title company or something like that?
Okay, yeah. So I'm a real estate attorney and I do title work. So that means that when you're purchasing a property, you would come to me. Ideally, you would come to me before you sign the contract so that I can review the contract. There's certain things that I like to discuss. If you're selling as well, if you're buying or selling. And I think it's important to involve an attorney in your transaction because we see outside of, the corners of that contract. For example, if you come to me and you're selling your property, we can talk about a 1099 exchange. Are you going to use this money to buy something else, or are you just, oh yeah, I'm going to buy something else? Is it going to be a similar, okay, then why don't you use a 1031 exchange agent so that you can have deferred payment of your capital? That's not something that a title company is going to have a discussion with you about. These are things that, and by the way, the price is it's similar to the title company of when you decide to use an attorney to do your transaction. Another thing that we look for is that we read all the exceptions to your title commitment. And it's important. I remember one time I had a lady come in to buy a property and she wanted to use the property to convert it into a daycare center. So she was going to buy this real estate property and then she was going to convert it into a daycare center so she could, take care of little kids and stuff. And she told me that she was buying it to live, single family residence, and that was going to be the purpose, that it wasn't going to be a business. She did that because her mortgage broker told her, oh yes, say it's going to be for a residence, because if it's going to be a business, it's another type of loan and you're going to have a higher interest rate. Well, it turns out that there was an exception to her title policy, which stated this property, I'm going to layman's term, this property can never ever be used for a business. So we do the closing, everybody's happy, she signs her loan documents, calls me back a month later and says, hey, Yvette, I'm trying to open a business on this property, but Miami-Dade County saying, no way, Jose. And I said, yeah, that's not for a business. It's a single family. Oh, well, we talked about this. You told me you were going to live there. You told me that it wasn't going to be a business. Oh, I lied to you because the mortgage broker told me that this was, and I said, you could have told me anything. I'm your lawyer. You could have told me the truth, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you there. Maybe this is not the property that you need. You know, maybe we could find another property that you can open a business, but you lied to your lawyer. You know, so these are important conversations to have with your client. What do you want this property for? What, you know, and that's something that a real estate attorney would do. You know, there's a lot of things that come out that a title company doesn't know. Like I just told this title company, hey, by the way, now effective January 1st, all warranty deeds have to have the witnesses' addresses on. Oh, really? Yeah, really. You know, there was a change in the statute. Quitclaim deeds, warranty deeds, you have to have the address on them. Not they're not valid, but they don't keep up with the continuous, you know, education. They don't keep up with what's going on now, and that's why you go to a lawyer. You know, sometimes people will go to a title company and say, and by the way, they would be practicing law without a license, but they did my closing. Let me go back. Oh, you know what? Can you do a quitclaim deed from, you know, my mom? She wants to, you know, do a quitclaim deed to me. Whoa, wait a minute. You know what's going to happen to mom's property? The property appraisal's office is going to reassess it. You know, so maybe mom was paying real estate property taxes for $2,000, and now, you know, that she bought the property in 1971. As soon as you put somebody else on the deed, the property appraisal's office is going to reassess that property, and now your taxes are going to be $16,000. What did you want to do? Did you want to do estate planning? Maybe your mom wanted to give you a ladybird deed. You know, she keeps the life estate remainder to you upon her death. And then there is no reassessment. She doesn't lose her homestead exemption, her senior exemptions, but people go to title companies to do these things, and then they come to me, you know? And I learned a long time ago. I remember when I was very young, I would try to do my own hair to save $100. And what would happen? I would mess up my hair real bad. So now it will cost me $500 to get it fixed.
Yep.
People, go to your lawyer first. Let them review. Don't come after. You know, after we're limited in how we can help. Go
Hey,
from the
Cuz,
very
that
beginning.
hair, that hair that you're wearing right now, $500 was cheap. It looks great.
Well, listen, I learned my lesson. I always go to the salon. So, and by
Obviously.
the way, 2024 is about, I used to do the highlights, the blonde highlights. So my new, this year is about being kind to myself, okay? Because I'm not gonna be an asshole with myself. I'm gonna be kind, like as kind as I am with everybody else, I'm gonna show myself that kindness. And the other thing is about low maintenance. And I'm, okay, I'm sorry, because I'm getting off real estate.
No, you're
you know?
good. No,
But
you're
Your
good.
hair looks really good, man. I'm gonna tell you that. It looks freaking awesome.
One of the things is I started evaluating how much time I spend getting my hair done, and I don't enjoy it. So if it's something that I don't enjoy, you know, I would sit there in that chair to be a blonde for hours, 4 or 5 hours. And this year I said, I don't want to waste 5 hours every few months anymore. I don't want to do it. I'm a brunette. That's what it's going to be, you know?
It. Find an expert. Jerry, I saw you raised while Yvette was talking.
Thanks,
You raised your electronic hand. Can I see the electronic hand again, please? All right, Jerry, go ahead.
Thank you. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay.
no, you looked away when I did that. When I did this, you looked away. It was funny.
Oh yeah, I was in a meeting. I'm sorry, I was in a meeting earlier this week, and there's a lot of people in this meeting. And then the host of the meeting said, "Okay, if you have any questions, just go ahead and raise your hands." And she meant press the button that shows on your screen. Your hand is up. That you have something to say, and they'll call on you. And there was this guy in the meeting. Oh, he was holding his hand up like this the
whole
entire time until they called his name. I was dying. I was dying. So you
That
reminded
sounds
me.
like something I would do, so I'm not even gonna laugh at that.
All right, Jerry J, take it away, Napa. What do you got for us on what Yvette said?
Thank you. So no, I got so much from what you were saying because we're in the West Coast. Things are differently. Primarily, we use title, what we call in Northern California, we have title escrow companies. They're all in one. Most of the time, they're all in one. If you go to Southern California, they split them a lot. There's escrow companies and title companies. But one of my gripes with title companies over here has always been that the escrow officer does not want to review prelims. They don't want to go over them. And what I struggle with is, wait a minute, if you're getting paid all this money, your company is producing the title documents. Why are you the one not explaining them? Why are you saying that the agents are the ones that are supposed to do this? I never want to explain. And I would go round and round with one of my great mentors, somebody that on that list of people that bring me up, definitely brings me up. I love her. I think she walks on water, one of the most brilliant real estate broker minds that I've ever met in my entire life. And her and I are still very close friends in my top 5. And we could still go round and round and disagree that she believes that the agents need to explain, that the agents need to read, understand, and explain prelims. And I'm like, I still don't agree with that. I still don't think it's our job. It would be as if I was explaining loan docs. I don't explain loan docs. Loan docs need to be explained by the professional who's producing said loan docs. So I love, now you're making me think of how cool would it be if an attorney like you were to get their hands, not just on the purchase agreement or the listing agreement, but get a conversation with the client, because I'm telling you, there are clients that would keep themselves out of hot water if you were looking at documents in our behalf. Because a lot of times what we're practicing law. We're practicing law because we're looking and interpreting contracts. We say we don't interpret them. If we have an opinion about them, we interpret them. And then if we get to talk about them, we're obviously interpreting what another attorney wrote on said document. I learned a lot just from hearing you right now and the way you guys do things. I didn't ever quite understand it this way.
Well, it's funny because that's all I've ever been doing with Yvette and any business we work together. So my mandate in our brokerage is this: there must be a real estate attorney involved. So if we represent the seller, when we're doing a listing presentation, we don't wait to go into contract. Oh, let me introduce. No, listen, Ivette Rodriguez is part of our team. She's an attorney, and I tell her from the beginning, you can choose any attorney you like, but this is who we work with. This is who represents our sellers when she's not doing the buyer side transaction. And it's great to have an attorney looking at all the documents through an attorney's lens versus a title company versus an agent, that sort of thing. And Yvette does the same thing. She does that add value she brings to the table. She talks to our clients, doesn't charge them any extra hourly because, oh, let me bill them for an hour. She talks to them, and that's why it's a great synergy there. And I've been through a lot of horrific things here in Miami with experiencing with Yvette. We've had people not show up for closings. We had some craziness. We had wires get lost because Yvette. Because I think I put one of the people that wired money in put like a Hispanic name on there. Remember that, Yvette? The wire, they got trapped for like a month or whatever it was. So there's a lot of craziness that happens down here. But I tell them, listen. And when buyers put in offers, if they just put an offer and they don't want to use Yvette also, then I tell them we do not accept an offer with just a title company. You must have a real estate attorney represent you, because I always know Yvette's in the mix, so they can be representing the seller or the buyer. But we have professionals, like you mentioned, Jerry, looking at it through the legal lens, that they're going to flag anything like, hey guys, hold on, this says this, Carlos, be careful with that. It's a great add value. And the consumer doesn't understand this. Oh, my cousin Pedro is an attorney, I'm going to hire him. Does your cousin Pedro do real estate? No. I'm like, and I explained to him, okay, listen, if you hire your cousin Pedro, you're going to pay him, or your friend or your attorney, you're going to pay him his attorney's fees, and you still have to pay a closing fee because Pedro's not doing the closing. So you're paying double attorney fees there, but that's the add value there of using an attorney. And I feel more confident using any real estate attorney because in any transaction on whatever side, as long as Yvette's involved, obviously, but because the attorneys have so much more to lose. Okay. Even though an attorney signs off on a title company down here, it's quote unquote responsible for it, whatever, but they have so much more to lose. And when you're dealing with someone like Yvette, she cannot just press a button and create a new law identity. She's been in her expertise, in her field of expertise for 20 something years. So she's not going away. And we talked about this last episode. You're not going away, Jerry. I'm not pressing a button because I screw people over and starting a new company tomorrow. We have too much invested, too much time.
Hold on, Yvette. He's going into what we call the ABC mode of Carlos.
I'm not selling crap, bro.
He's selling, dude. I keep trying to reel it in. The guy is ABC, always be.
Listen, if people don't understand the value of someone like Yvette, then they're like,
Oh, he's closing for you now. Wait a minute. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
because I use her value as my value as well, if you didn't know that.
Now you're talking. I'll shut up.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Keep
yeah.
selling.
I mean, but we had, and we're not going to say the name of the person, but it was someone whose elderly mom was selling the property, and you know, we needed to structure some things, and we needed to, you know, they came to me, and I had to put them with, you know, an attorney who specializes in elderly care, because we don't want any of her benefits to be, and we had to, and it took some time, you know, and it wasn't like one of these things, but in good conscience, we can't say, listen, just sell and we'll figure it out. Like, no, we need to structure it the right way, you know, and maybe we need to create a trust, maybe we need to do something. And so it's having a conversation with the client and knowing what when people call me and they say, Yvette, I want a quick claim deed, I always say, what are you trying to achieve? What is it that you're trying? If you go to someone else, but that didn't come now. No, this is 26 years of seeing things happen. You know, someone met a new girlfriend and puts them on title. They come to me, they want a quick claim deed. Oh, okay, but then that person 2 years later will be like, how do I get her out? You know, and then now I'm like, okay, wait, let's slow down. Is this a girlfriend? What's going on? You know, like, you have to have these conversations because you saw things that happened at the beginning of the year and you learn. You know, they call it practicing law. We're practicing all the time. The goal is to have had as many experiences as possible so you can guide your client in the right direction and ask all the right questions before, because after it becomes hard. It's hard to get that girlfriend off title now. You were in love 2 years ago. Now you got to pay her.
Yvette, you know, Idisham was just on the call a minute ago. He's our director of operations and handles a lot of the day-to-day management tasks, but he got his license and he's wanting to do real estate. So the guy that does a lot of like the handyman work for us and refers me this guy that that actually was ran over by an Uber driver up in San Francisco. And he is actually a what's the food one called? The Uber, not the Uber Eats.
Uber Eats.
DoorDash.
Oh, DoorDash.
Our client is a DoorDash driver who got ran over by an Uber driver in San Francisco. So he gets a quite large settlement out of that and comes to us looking to diversify into real estate. So we find him a beautiful townhome in Marin County, which is much more upscale than Napa, but he wanted a rental and he wanted to buy this property there because he lives close to there, but he lives in affordable housing. So get this, we find him this beautiful unit. We're going to the signing table, and the whole time he's decided that he's going to put this property under what I thought was his wife's name. And on the walkthrough, right before the day of recording, here we record first and then we hand out we hand the keys after recording. We're not like you guys where you sign and then you record later, right?
Right.
So on the day we're going to walk through, the wife looks at him and says, let's tell Jerry the truth. And I'm like, what's the truth? She says, we've been divorced for 2 years. We're going to get remarried in a month and a half in Colorado. We're going to they hardly speak English, by the way. We're going to go, they're so she tells me that I couldn't sleep that night. I called them in the evening and I said, listen, we have to talk, and we have to talk without your girlfriend in front of you. And he calls me, he says, what's going on? I said, you're not on the deed. If you guys got into an argument between now and when you get married, you got a big problem. So then I called my who we had on the show, who Carlos met, who's my Yvette over here, but he's an estate planner, an estate attorney. I called Trevor and I said, Trevor, what do you think? He says, he can't close that transaction in her name. Anything happens, if they both get hit by a cross, you got a big problem. But at the end of the day, Yvette, he calls me the next day because I'm sure it was an argument between them, and they still closed that transaction. Unfortunately for them, nothing did happen. Unfortunately, they got married. But boy, how many things could have gone wrong there?
Yeah,
Right,
you know,
right.
that's yeah,
You
but
could only advise people. Yeah, you could only advise people, and ultimately the choice is theirs. You know, and one of the things, and I don't know if this has happened to you in your career, Jerry and Carlos, is sometimes you're dealing with a client that you believe they're a sophisticated client, like you, because of the way they've presented themselves to you, and you're less careful with them because you feel like, oh, they know what they're doing because there's these millionaires, and sometimes those are the people that know the least. So no, I'm careful that I treat everyone the same. And if they tell me, oh, I know that, oh yes, I'm aware of that, that's fine. But just because you walk in and like you're this smart business person and you're calling the shots and you're telling me this and that, then maybe something slips that I think, oh gosh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I'm very careful with sophisticated quote unquote clients as well. Sometimes they don't know either. So,
but that's
I have
why,
a duty
yep,
to them.
that's why the consultative approach that we all take in our respective verticals is important, right? And I'm going to mention a fallacy right now, and I'm already giving you.
ABC. He just threw
No,
an
no,
ABC in there.
no. Listen, I'm going to mention a fallacy right now, a legal fallacy in the real estate world. That Jerry, you're going to hear this, and maybe you don't experience it that much in Napa, but down here, since you can drive by the most popular shopping center and you can toss a pebble into the parking lot, and you're going to 100% hit someone with a real estate license on the head. That's how many realtors are down here, right? So I'm going to tell you a legal fallacy that we come across all the time that we clarify as responsible real estate brokers. That I know if you've had this, I know you'd clarify and explain how that works. But Yvette, when a buyer tells when a real estate agent, let's within the context of Miami, tells their buyer, listen, we got to put a down payment on this contract, and the buyer says, buyer that's putting the down payment, let's suppose to bring down, let's say a number, a reasonable number, let's say 25 grand. Well, the client automatically asks, well, what happens to that money, right? That's a big deal. Like, what do you mean put it, who holds it, where's, and they tell them, don't worry about it. If you can cancel within the inspection period and you can get your money back, or you can get your money back, and they leave it open-ended like that. So Yvette, hypothetically speaking, if I represent a buyer and I told them that, and something happens in the contract where all of a sudden we have a problem, is the buyer going to get their money back immediately? Yes or no, and why?
Well, it depends. Like, for example, during the inspection period, if they decide, and depending on what the inspection period clause says, because remember, there is an as-is contract, but there's also just a residential contract. On the residential contract, it's not like I can get out for whatever reason. The regular contract is the seller will agree to make certain repairs and things like that. So let's say you're using the as-is contract and you decide to cancel timely at the right time during the inspection period. Yeah, we'll circulate a release and everybody signs the release and you get your money back. Now, usually if it's contingent on financing, you have now 30 days to secure what is called a loan commitment, which is a lender has reviewed all your financials, everything else, and says, you know what, you're approved. And these are some conditions. And the conditions are something like saying you got to get homeowners insurance and things like that, which are standard things. But let's say you don't present your loan commitment, okay? Because your real estate agent didn't, do a due diligence list or something like that, and the finance period expires. And now the bank comes back and says, well, we're sorry. You just bought a car, and we didn't have that, or you just made, like the loan to value is not there. We cannot give you the loan. And the financing part passed, and you didn't cancel. Now you got a problem. Now your deposit is not going to be returned immediately if the seller says, hey, wait a minute. No, you had a financing contingency. The financing period stops. We want the deposit, and now the struggle begins.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I opened up a can of worms there, and that's 100% on point, everything you just said. I guess the point I was referring to was this, that when you tell a buyer, if a real estate professional tells a buyer, don't worry, if this happens, you'll get your money right back. That is 100% untrue, because even if you're right, even if the buyer, for example, let's suppose the inspection period, they cancel the inspection period and they want the seller to release them. If the seller does not sign that, you cannot give the buyer their money back because the sellers not agree. Then the parties have to now demand letters and sue each other and spend all this money. So it's not an automatic button. They're like, oh yeah. Oh, in other words, Yvette does
You're
not look at evidence, right? Yvette, you do not look at evidence saying, oh yeah, you're right, buyer, I'm going to give your money back. Like right now, Yvette, I've known Yvette all my life. She's my cousin. And if I tell her, Yvette, listen, they breached. I need you to give their money back, Yvette. She's gonna say, Carlos, have
Send
a
me
nice
the
day.
release.
Give me the release. Or if not, then the realtors have to notify the FREC, and it's a whole legal process, right? So they don't get their money back right away. So if you're a buyer in the market and you put a considerable down payment down, you have to understand that if something happens, even if you're right about it, you need to find a home, you need to find a dwelling within a certain time period, and something happens, you're not being guided by the right real estate professional with the right attorney, you're not going to get your money back. No one's pressing a button. It's going to stay in escrow until both parties agree what happens to that money. Is that right, more or less?
Yvette, do you serve as a neutral third party?
As an escrow agent, usually I'm neutral, and what I try to do is, if there is a dispute, and there have been disputes, is I don't put it in the court immediately. I kind of let everybody simmer down for a little while, and I'll tell the buyer, look, I'm not doing it because I could put it in the clerk's depository, but then there's a bunch of fees there, and there's, I just don't, I feel it's a waste. And I think that these things get resolved eventually anyway, and it might cost you half of your deposit, but yeah, I am a neutral person when it comes to the escrow.
Yeah, we had a while back. I don't remember. We had so many of them. Again, we're in Miami, so Jerry's probably like, "What's happening down there?" But we had one. Remember a while back? Yvette had that beautiful condo on the beach. A buyer. We had the listing. A buyer comes and man, the realtor was like an older lady. She looked really refined. So back to Yvette's point on the sophisticated person. When I saw the realtor, because as a real estate professional, like, oh, this person would be good to work with. I'm like, oh wow, she seems experienced and whatever. So fast forward, something hinky happened with the financing. I'm not even getting into that. They were putting some kind of scam, not communication, whatever. So we make sure that we take a significant offer, because if that buyer is trying to use that property and we short timelines on inspection, like 7 days, something quick so we can go hard. And for y'all out there, hard means the deposits are unrefundable and they're past that, contingency, with exception of any of the prevailing contingencies. But anyways, so she doesn't.
Carlos is using that sophisticated language again.
Well, she's an attorney. We have to impress her. So basically, long story short, fast forward, they do not show up to closing. Yvette, I don't know if you remember this or not. They do not show up for closing. Yvette's holding escrow. They don't show up for closing. But before we went to contract, I made sure we got a hell of a deposit, because if they're shopping it around thinking, oh, you know what? If we cancel, we can buy the other property we want to buy if this doesn't work out. So I made sure we tie that money up. So if something happens, so the lady tells me, oh no, you're gonna get that money back right away. You don't know. So they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, okay. So I literally told her that money se va a pudrir in escrow until we agree what we're gonna do with it. And eventually, like Yvette said, I think we gave them like a small shaving off the deposit. We kept almost all their deposit. It's happened over and over and over again. So buyers have to be aware when they put that money down. If you have some serious plans about your future and you need to be out of a certain place or rental property by this time, or you need housing, and you don't have funds to leave that money alone, you should put down money that you're okay with not affecting your life if that money gets tied up. And no one has that conversation because it's easier to tell a buyer, don't worry about it, it'll get refunded, because it's the lajite, hurry up, sign here, don't worry about it, let's move. So I think that's interesting. It happens here all the time. So I thought it was interesting. How about over there, Jerry? Is that
That's the point. No, that's the point well taken. Over here, I don't think the agents do a great job explaining that, that if that money is in escrow, everybody has to come to terms to release it. Yeah, it's the same exact thing.
And then you use it as an add value for the buyer if you're representing the buyer. I tell the buyers, listen, your money's secure. No one can take your money, and that's to the benefit of the transaction.
That's right.
Not to the benefit of the seller, and
right.
It's to the benefit.
And you have to perform by the timelines. If you perform the timelines, you're going to be fine. 100%. If you don't perform by those timelines, it'll be a problem.
But you got to create those timelines. You have to, on paper, and circulate them and say, does everybody agree this is our timeline?
Thank you. Well said. Oh my God.
I don't worry about it with Carlos and Martha, but sometimes I got to do even if I'm just a title agent that I'm not representing somebody, I will say, these are your timelines. Make sure, that.
Make sure everybody agrees, right?
I have real estate agents that send me business, that I love them, but they don't do the timelines. They don't watch out for deadlines. They don't, do these things. And I've had them a little bit spoiled because they know that I'm going to do it. Another thing that's a real issue here, Jerry, I don't know if it is over there, is a lot of times people will close, and I haven't had an opportunity to review the contract. It comes to me executed for title work. And the parties have agreed to a post-occupancy agreement where, the person who's selling has the right to stay on the property a month, let's say. Sometimes those turn into a nightmare because the person who was selling was going to buy another property, but that didn't fall through. And so now they're in the property. The person who bought it's paying a mortgage, taxes and insurance, and they agreed to a minimal, rent. And these folks are sitting on this property, and now you got to evict them. Now
we actually asked our standard practice is to big deposits for those sellers to put in a big deposit and then a big per diem. If it goes over here, if it's over 29 days is after rent, after closed lease agreement it's called, I think, or after escrow lease agreement. And then on 29 days or less, it's called an interim occupancy agreement. So on 29 days or less, you don't quite become tenant. Tenant laws don't apply to you if you're 29 days or less.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. So you don't have to go through the
interesting.
eviction. If you go 30 days or more, then it's the eviction process that you'd have to go through. But the big winning recipe is usually big per diems. If it's a house that's going to be a $4,000, $5,000 a month mortgage, then you make the per diem $300, $400 a day, or 500, 600. You make it really big, so they really want to get out.
So it hurts. So it's a motivation to get out. And another thing, if anybody out there is listening to this, please don't plan your vacations right when you're doing a closing. Please. Every time I do a closing, they're like, well, we're leaving the day after. Sometimes things don't close when they're supposed to close. Don't hire your contractor to come at 9 a.m. the day of closing, because sometimes you need an extension. Those are the things that become like my problem when they're like, oh, but we're all leaving to Europe tomorrow.
We get those pretty often, but we're only okay when they're cash transactions. If they're cash transactions, then we got everything worked out. But if there's loan docs involved, please, no way.
Yeah. And it's always the case. We're leaving. We're going on vacation. We'll be. So why did you schedule your closing that day? Well, can I sign it over there? Okay. Are you gonna notarize it, or it's a loan package? It's a big package. I gotta walk you through.
Hey, Yvette, can you guys on cash transactions? Can you sign via DocuSign?
Yeah, I on a cash transaction, all I usually have is a settlement statement. There are a lot of title companies that give you a whole bunch of affidavits to sign. If I'm insuring your title insurance, I'm not going to give you any other affidavit that's not in the title commitment. Like, these companies will say, oh, if there's a water balance, you're responsible. If there's a this balance. No, that's why I came to you, so that when I buy, there isn't a water balance, that there isn't a problem. Right. Why am I signing a paper? And so if I'm representing someone that has chosen a title company and then just comes to me because they got a little bit nervous and they're like, can you look over? I cross those out. We're not signing this. We're not signing this. We're not signing this. I've seen, this was really, really interesting one time. Someone called me 24 hours before their closing to represent them. And I don't like this, because now you're in the hot seat 24 hours before. When I reviewed the title commitment, there was a federal tax lien as an exception to the title. So what basically this means is that this tax lien came up, the seller was a lender, it was that time where the banks had taken the properties and they put it as an exception to title. So I told the people, I said, listen, this is how we're going to handle this. I'm going to go to the closing with you. We're not going to say anything. You're going to have your cash to close, okay? And we're going to sit down there. And so, because I wanted to see what kind of people do this to other people. I wanted to see the faces. I wanted to see the reactions. So we went, They had their cashier's check, because back then it was a cashier's check for the amount. I said, and so I sat down and I took the title commitment and I said, oh, who's in charge here? And she's like, oh, I said, please have her come out. I need to ask her a question about a little detail. And so she comes out and I point to the last exception. I said, I have a question about this. And I had already had I said, this is a federal tax lien. That's an exception to my client's policy. Why is that there as an exception? And I wanted to see what she told me. I said, and she's, I go, okay, we need this out. This needs to get, and sure enough, they went and they got a partial release for this property. But you will go to places and they will do a closing. I heard, and I didn't do this closing, this closing wasn't related to me. It was an example that somebody came as a guest speaker. There was a closing that the property had a demolition order. And the real estate agent, I guess the people in the title company was like, say, if you want to go through with it, you're the one that's going to have to sit and do the closing. They had the real estate agent do the closing, and they had a waiver and release and an indemnification saying, I know that there's a demolition order, but I want the property anyway. The lady who was buying the property was a housekeeper. She had saved all her life savings to buy this little property, okay? She didn't speak English, okay? Her real estate agent sat there in Spanish and had her sign every single document. And a couple of weeks later, they came knocking. There's a demolition order. We have to demolish this property. And the attorney that represented her, okay, she called, he said to the group, he said, I represented her because my wife is my assistant and receptionist, and says, you have to help this lady. You have to take the case. And the court saying, you don't speak English, but you signed something, you should have had somebody translate it for you in Spanish. And she lost her life savings like that. So just beware. If you don't speak English, go with somebody that speaks Spanish, read everything, go with somebody that you trust, because things happen.
Now, Carlos, you're
Sorry,
the one.
guys, I've been talking so much.
No, that's awesome. No, Carlos was telling me about, exams over there, that real estate agents can take real estate exams in Spanish, but there's no contracts in Spanish over there.
Yep. Explain
That's a
that.
really good point.
Can you explain that? That's always boggled my mind. How can you take an exam catered to your language, which is 100% okay? Hey, opportunity for everybody. But that's like me going to right now, I don't know, going to whatever country, not speaking the language. And they're going to give me a test in my native language, yet there's no documented in that country in my native language. And you're pushing me into the world to represent the consumer in some major financial. Explain to me how that works. That's just always blown my mind.
Yeah, I've had real estate agents. Oh, sorry, Carlos. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. No, you're good. I want to get on the soapbox with down here, and then you get contracts from these individuals. There's no addresses for purposes of notice. There's no addresses. Oye, hola, Heriberto, mira, por favor, hace falta en el contrato que me enviaste, que me llenes en la parte en la página donde está la dirección for service, por favor. No, pero yo nunca en mi vida he llenado eso. Eso yo lo dejo vacío, muchachos, pues es una tarea de tiempo, no voy a estar. Mira, Heriberto, el problema es que si hay un problema entre su cliente y nuestro cliente por la ley, tenemos que saber a quién le mandamos la demanda y lo notificamos. Si hay un problema con el contrato, hay que mandar notificación. So anyway, so notice is important. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to give you baby steps. Don't give me an address. I'll fill it in for you. And what I do is I rope in their broker. So I put notice, care of ABC Real Estate Company, broker so-and-so, and then make sure that your electronic means is an approved method of communicating that notice. Anyways, chapuceria, I've never done that in my life. So it's just so frustrating, Jerry. I want to move to Napa, bro.
Well, what about FRUPTA and the federal tax withholding? If the seller is a foreigner, we have to withhold.
Right.
I love when a real estate agent tells me, because I'll say, who is your client's CPA, so I can discuss this with them and think of it. I've never heard of that. Oh, so it must not exist. Okay, so you have never heard of it, so I must be wrong. But the contract says, like, come on, just because you haven't heard, like, at least approach me with, can you teach me what that's about? Can you show me? Because if somebody calls my office and they're a real estate agent and they tell me, this is my first sale, can you help? I will go out of my way to say, okay, make sure you do this. Go ahead and, send your wire instruction, like do all. But if you come to me, like if you know something, and just because you've never heard about it, it doesn't exist, that's a problem. And the problem is that now they got to go back to their seller and tell their seller that there's going to be a withholding, which they didn't advise them because they're a foreign seller. And now it's your problem. Put on your big girl panties, your big boy underwear, and take care of the problem.
And the biggest point of all of this, number one, these are all conversations, am I right, Jerry, that are had behind the scenes between professionals, right? So we would be talking about all these things. We just wouldn't drag the client into the weeds and unless they need to know something important so they can have a good experience during the process, right? And the second takeaway, which is like the common theme of everything we ever talk about real estate, is if you're thinking about DIY without a professional guiding you, think twice, because this is just a fraction of the things that can go wrong in a real estate transaction. If you don't have professionals looking at it through this type of lens of experience, expertise, and so on and so forth. So that scares me. You know what I mean? So, but if you're proficient, mete mano, translation.
Consider, Carlos, I've been doing this now, I think 25 or 26 years, and I don't do my own real estate transactions. I have somebody else represent me because there are too many blind spots that in an emotional transaction I can miss.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's
that's
important.
That's because you're smart. That's because you're smart, Jerry.
Well, there's a reason why there's no hair on this head like YouTube people. And I told Carlos, Carlos has a routine in the morning with products, Yvette, that will rival anybody's. Definitely more complicated than yours now that you've simplified your life away from beautiful blonde hair. But dude, this guy's morning routine, it is just...
What did you see? Who's told you anything?
Carlos, I don't know if he does this with you. Carlos is a fan of FaceTime. It doesn't matter if he catches you in the bathroom or in bed with your wife.
Right.
Really, we really don't FaceTime that much, Carlos. Now I'm jealous.
No,
we don't
I will. Now I'm going to FaceTime the shit out of you, bro.
He is a FaceTimer. And you know what?
I like the interpersonal. Like if I want to talk to Yvette,
I know why you do it. I know why you do it.
But I know she's busy, bro. She's an attorney. I'm not going to have her there at closing table and have her cousin. Oh, excuse me, sir. Yes, Carlos. I don't know. That's like whenever I reach out to her.
So just because she bills by the hour, you have more restraint with her?
Because if she would be a billionaire like you, then there's no problem because we can bother you at any time.
Hold on. Let's call a spade a spade. I assure you, Yvette has more liquidity than I do, my friend. Don't even give me that crap.
No.
Well, I know the life of an attorney, so I never want to bother. So I always text her first. Hey,
see, there's something to that attorney title that he really respects, man. That worked for you.
I don't want to bother her.
With me, it's like I could be in the toilet.
I don't think so. I think he respects me because I kicked him in the nuts in the 3rd grade. So he knows.
There it is,
bro. I still drive by that school and I point that spot. To me, that's my Pearl Harbor. You know what I mean? So when people are taking on a tour,
I really did, Jerry, and he never forgot it.
I was minding my own freaking business by the Monkey Bar, Sylvania Heights Elementary School, towards the northeast section of the old building that's still there to this day.
What school is this?
Sylvania Heights on 16th
Sylvania.
Street.
Okay, I'm very familiar.
Yeah. She has gone. I think she ran like 5 blocks away and came running for 5 blocks with that type of momentum. And she has put my what in my throat, bro.
Okay? Wow, man.
And it's lucky I didn't end up in intensive care or dead. So every time I drive by, I'm like, it's like if right now, if you're in where Kennedy got assassinated, you're driving by, oh, that's the spot. Or Pearl Harbor, oh, that's where the ships. To me, that's my Pearl Harbor, bro. That's my JFK assassination. Look, that spot right there. That's where Yvette kicked the shit out of my nuts, right there.
Well, I forget that you live so close to her. I forget. That's why you guys went to the same school. It makes sense.
We were always together.
Yeah, always.
We were always together. Carlos's mom used to pick us up after school, and we would sit in the back seat of her car, and she always had like a little snack for us, and she would have us share. And it was nice. We were always together in Sylvania. I was heartbroken when we ended up going to different middle schools and high schools because I was so used to having him around, and he was always making me laugh a lot. So
It's funny. I think maybe
think
one of our mutual food issues. Look at the healthy breakfast we'd have when Yvette would sleep over at my house. We'd wake up in the morning. My mom would make café con leche, like really good, the Cuban style.
this is
And
true.
then my mom would sit by the toaster, bust out the bread and pan con mantequilla, dipping it, bro, endlessly. Así, hasta.
Endlessly.
She would butter each slice
Yes.
for us, and like toast another one, butter a slice, hand it to us, and we would take down a loaf of bread, dipping it in. Let's make the kids a healthy café con leche with espresso.
That's
And
what
think about
Ray and I would do when we get home from clubbing. We would just kill a couple of, not one each loaf of bread with butter and café con
Yes.
leche.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
And then you sleep like a baby. Jesus.
no insulin
was
spike, no
breakfast of
insulin spike, nothing.
The
That's
breakfast of
crazy.
champs.
Muchacha, that is
Well, to
awesome.
say that this has been a lot of fun,
Yep.
I hope people have stayed through the end of this. If they have and they find this information helpful, please subscribe to our channel. We want to see it grow a little bit at the right rate. We don't need it to grow too fast, but please, if you find the information useful, hit us with that subscribe and hit us with a like or a comment or a question or two. We will read all of your messages and respond to them. So we really do appreciate it. These are three cousins from Miami, Florida, that came by way of Cuba a long time ago. I'm half Puerto Rican, by the way, so I do have to honor both of my roots. And my Cuban side has the most fun by reminding me that I am indeed a Puerto Rican. And that's about all I have to say about that. Anything else you guys want to add for the good of the order?
I think we're good. I think
You
it's a
guys
great.
have Michelle coming in next week? Michelle's going to come in next week?
Not next week. The week
Okay.
after that. The week after that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure that I kind of just so I can hear her.
Oh,
Yeah,
it'd be amazing. And this episode should be going out. Actually, this one's going to go out pretty quick, just so you know. I think it's going to go out like today.
Yep.
He's waiting for us to finish. He's going to produce it and send it out. And then he'll have a bunch of shorts. And also, I was going to ask you, Evie, would you consider being a guest on my Body Mind Index? I'd love to talk more about your story. It's so much fun. And I love to use I have a feeling that you have all the courage in the world, so I don't have to taunt you with that. But let me use that before and after of yours. A beautiful photo of just determination, grit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So good. And
if there's anybody that needs my help, I'm more than willing to help. The scale, I remember in that same Sylvania Heights that we're talking about, I remember being in the third grade and getting on the scale and weighing 98 pounds and being the heaviest kid in the class. And thereafter started my issues with the weight. And now when I look at the scale, like one of my friends taught me, this is information. This is information. This is all this is information. And it took so many years to be able to get on. I get on the scale every morning, and I'm not afraid of it. It's giving me information. I ate this. I need to drink more water today. It's a way that I process things now. I'm not obsessed with it, but it's part of my life, because in order for this to work,
I have such body dysmorphia that even the scale saying one thing, I did a DEXA scan that says, your body fat content and all this and that. My running coach had to say, please, because she had a before photo. She says, send me a photo right now. And I send her a photo. She's like, screw the DEXA scan, screw the scale. Look at yourself. You are changing, but you still can't see it. It's bizarre.
My doctor told me, and I had never had anybody say this to me, right now, your weight is irrelevant. You don't have to worry about your weight. We want to build muscle. And I had never had somebody say that I'm at the point that whatever I weigh is irrelevant. Now it's about building muscle. So that's this year's goal. Now I got the weight taken off. Now it's about building the muscle, continuing to have healthy habits. And Carlos, you had mentioned that I don't drink. I do drink. I drink socially, very limited. So I don't want to put that out there because, that's not an accurate statement. But it's not something that I do because I'm sad or because I'm bored. I'll do it more on I'm going to celebrate. And sometimes I'll even be there and I'll be like, do I want it? No, I'll just have and people are like, you're just sitting here? You're not drinking anything? No, I'm perfectly, and people have a hard time dealing with that. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'll just get a club soda because I don't want to deal with your reaction. Right. You know what I mean? I just have it here because I don't want to have to get into that whole thing of, because we're not at the same place.
Yeah,
You
we're
know?
not in the same place. That's all it is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautifully said.
I'll tell you what. This has probably been one of my top favorite shows we did, and I love the spontaneity nature of it. I love it. It's we're just being ourselves, and I'm glad that you're able to let your
We
hair
finally
down.
had a good-looking person on screen.
Thank you. You both are very good
Yvette,
looking men.
Yvette, he was talking about me. He was talking about me.
It's Carlos.
Hey, listen, if anyone out there, you have any real estate questions, they're free. We'd love to answer them for you. If you're in the Napa area, anywhere in California, actually, you reach out to Jerry Homestead Real Estate. Him and his team would be more than happy to give you any guidance or answer any questions you have. If you're here in Miami or in any Florida area, you can reach out to Zold Realty Group. We would be more than happy to answer your real estate questions, which are free.
And if you're looking to go from Napa to Miami, we're happy to facilitate that.
absolutely, we'll bridge, we'll make a connection, and we'll make sure that whatever your goals and issues are flawless, and it's a good experience. And more importantly, if you have any kind of legal questions regarding any real estate transactions, reach out to Ivette Rodriguez. She's located in Coral Gables, Yvette Rodriguez, PA, 305-447-1710. And you can reach her by email at yvette@YvetteRodriguezLaw.com.
Dude, I'm impressed.
Say hi to Susan for me and to my chica, please.
I love
Absolutely.
you.
Thanks for
right.
joining us. We'll do it again.
Of course. All right. Bye, guys.
We're out.
Quiero.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Bye.